take any questions you may have.
Rich, is Mims one of the best, if not the best returner in the business?
Well, I think right now he's playing at a really high level. You know, he's been an elite player for a while. You know, he's got great speed. The thing about him is he can stick his foot in the ground and come right at you, and then he can also turn the corner and get the field, you know, go to the wide field. So he's been a good player for a while, and we'll have our hands full with him. He just hit a touchdown last week against the Raiders, you know, to help them win that game. So it'll be a good challenge for us.
I mean, he's averaged like 15 yards return for his career. It's pretty crazy what he's done. Is it schematic, or not just schematically, but the supporting cast? What do they do well to get him in space?
Well, I mean, it's a different scheme now. You know, he's been in. You know, he's got a different coach out there now, and so you know the schemes are really all the same. You're either going to the right, you're going to the left, or you're going up the middle. You're either going 3 against 3 on one side, or you're double teaming one guy on one side, or so. He's just really good at it, and guys have given him a lot of good shots to take back to him too. So we'll see if we can prevent that somehow.
What else do they do well on that side of the ball?
Well, they got a good kicker right now that's playing pretty good. I think their punter's playing well. He's had a lot of out-of-bounds kicks. He hasn't given up too many returns. He's given up one big one. They're real physical on kickoff. They're really good punt rush team with a lot of exotic looks. I don't know if you remember last year, Rizzy was in New Orleans and we played him, and he had multiple formations on the punt team and really wide exotic looks on punt rush, and he's a hell of a coach. He's been around a long time. He's back with Sean, you know, Payton. He was with him in New Orleans for a while. You know, being in Tampa and Sean being in New Orleans, I've gone against him a lot of times. He knows how to put a club together. He knows how to win games, and you know, they've come back in a lot of games and had a chance to win games in the end because of the kicking game, because of the big plays they've made in the kicking game. They've blocked a field goal. They've had a field goal blocked. So they've blocked a punt. You know, they've hit a punt for a touchdown. So this will be a great challenge. Be excited to go out there and play.
How much is the altitude worth for a field goal kicker? How many yards do you think?
I have no idea. That'd be a great question for Brandon. He was out there for a long time. So
What have Hopper and Mosby given you? They seem like they've been really effective in coverage.
yeah, I think we have 5 guys in double-digit tackles, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, we try to move our guys around a little bit on the kickoff team, and those guys are playing on the same side of the punt team. So I think last week they had 2 really big physical tackles for us, and certainly what Mosby did in the Giant game. When they don't get doubled, or when their double teams go in a different direction and they're singled up, I think the expectation is they find a way to get to the ball and make a play. So I'm excited about the way our coverage teams have been playing.
Can McManus's experience playing in Denver, can that be beneficial coming into this game, the altitude, wind, things like that?
I hope so. You know, I kind of in our meeting this morning, I said to him that this is your field, so we're kind of counting on you to tell us which way you'd like to go and what you think the direction is going to be beneficial to us and that sort of thing. So we hope so. He's got a lot of games there.
Thanks, Rich.
What's that?
Good.
They played Enter Sandman.
Yeah, I didn't hear it because I was up in the booth, and I guess I don't know what I was doing at the time, but I'm probably was pretty busy at that time, or I was thinking about a million things. But I heard after the game they did. So good, well done to everybody involved. Well done.
Was that a special Jeff Halfley request to someone directly to make?
No, I had nothing to do with the request. I just talked to you guys, and stuff magically appears. So I'll keep trying to bring up the ideas, and you guys can take it from there. But I had nothing to do with it, honestly. But I guess that's pretty cool. Maybe start something new.
Anything else you want us to get done?
Anything else you guys want me to get done? You guys just let me know. All right. So it's we got some time left. So whatever you guys need, we'll work together on it. I like you guys got a good vibe today.
Food in the press box could use a little boost.
I don't get food in the press box. I think we might, but I'm just not hungry. I get coffee. I get water. There's Red Bull up there. Do you guys get all that too?
No Red Bull. Coffee.
I usually have a Red Bull, a coffee, a water, a lot of gum.
Red Bull and the coffee.
Games are long.
Double dose.
Usually messes with me that night. I can't fall asleep. And now I always ask my wife why I can't sleep the night after games. It's because of those booth drinks. All right, about the game. What do we got?
What'd you see in Nick's when you guys were there for joint practice last year, and what do you think of what he's done since then?
Yeah, I mean, that practice felt like a long time ago, but I remember walking out of the practice and really the game, just being really impressed with a young quarterback. Had really good command for a young player in and out of the huddle. Good presence about him, good leadership. It wasn't big for him. He's got a strong arm. He can make the throws. He's good in the pocket. He can get out of the pocket. What he's shown this year in some big key moments is using his legs. He's made some huge plays at the end of the game. I picture the one against Houston at the end of the game where he went for the big run to lead him to the win. Just a really good young quarterback who's got a really bright future. And what they've done around him, they got a really good offensive line, right? They got good backs. I know the one is injured. Wideouts are good. The tight ends. I mean, when Ingram's out there, it's like having another wide receiver on the field. They've built a really good offense around him, and I think they'll just keep getting better. Obviously, it's right now, some might say the best team in the NFL. So going there, this will be a great challenge.
You hear all the time from edge rushers saying the more snaps they get, the more opportunities they get, the better rhythm they can get in to make plays. Kingsley doesn't have that, obviously, in his role, playing about a third of the stats, but it seems like every week he's just finding a way to make a play or two that are really impactful. How's he able to do that, or how's anyone able to do that when they have that kind of role?
Yeah, I mean, not everybody gets to be out there for 60 plays. Actually, it's pretty rare for a defensive end in a lot of schemes to be out there for that many plays. A lot of guys have four guys dressed and they roll them and they keep them fresh, and there's a role for each one. Do you like one to set the edge in the run game? Do you like your pass rush group? What role do they have? I think he's a guy that embraces his role. I mean, to me, he is a starter. I mean, that's the way that I view him, and it's the way that he's practiced and prepared, and it's just his mindset and how hard he goes in the game. And I think he's had a really good year. I think it's the best football that he's playing. I think he's really tough. He's battled through some little injuries and doesn't say anything about it. He's really good at setting the edge. He shows up on pressures. He shows up on blitzes. He's good at dropping into different coverages. And probably the biggest play in that game was when he came off his side and made the play on a really strong back on the 3rd and 1 and knocked him back, which was able to get to 4th and 1 and intercept the ball. That's what I said to him right after the game. I mean, that was the play of the game. But it's guys like that, and it's guys like that we have on our team that play maybe a little bit smaller role in snaps than they might want to, but they play for each other, and they play really well. And it's guys like him, and it's guys like McDuffie, and sometimes you ask about, maybe a guy like Bullard coming off the field in a package, and those guys don't say anything. They just do their job as hard as they can, and good things are going to happen to them. And I'm really pleased with the way JJ's played.
Jeff, do you guys analyze what opponents do when Mike is off the field?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. I always look to see what people do, because my first reaction. What do you think my first reaction would be when Mike is off the field? They're gonna what?
They're going to throw deep.
Yeah, they're gonna throw deep. Now, looking at it, that doesn't pop out as much as I would have thought, but I 100% always look, and I'm always aware, because sometimes when I'm up there, and DeMarcus is subbing guys because he might need a blow. Sometimes my eyes are down and I might be looking at the call sheet and I look up and I'm like, all right, Mike is not in. You know what I mean? But the good thing is we got enough other good edge rushers and enough speed that have been getting there that we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping away from the explosive pass plays. But that's a really good point because it is something that I always try to find a way to look at that.
Jeff, Evan was pretty open about his not taking Komet on the interception.
Yeah.
But he also talked about how, I don't know if it was Swift that he saw in the flat. So how is that designed to be covered, especially when you probably didn't have the personnel you would have preferred since you were thinking run there, right?
No, not necessarily true.
Okay.
We had the personnel that we wanted, and the call was for. There were actually 3 calls I had written down on my call sheet for 4th and 1, and just so I have on my call sheet a 4th and 1 gotta have it call. So it says GTHI, and that's usually the call that I star that in a situation like that I think they're gonna run. And I had 3 calls written down, and that was one of them. So I made a call for the run, but at the same time, that was the other play we thought was coming. So we actually had a pressure to that side to try to pull up the quarterback. I told Quay right before the play on the thing, take a step back so you can get across and go get the back if they do run the roll pass, right? So Quay was coming to cover the back. Evan just decided not to cover the back and go take somebody else, which led Keyshawn taking his man. So we, I guess, essentially baited him into throwing an interception. But the play should have worked out where, and I don't need to get in all this detail, but for you that I will, Keyshawn had one guy. Evan should have stayed on his man. That man would have been covered. The ball would have never went over there. He would have either been pulled up or had to outrun Coop for the first down, right? The reason it might look like a run call is because, if we didn't have 2 guys in the A-gaps, they would have checked to a quarterback sneak, and it would have been a walk-in. Because if it's 4th down and you just have 2 open A-gaps, right, most of the time people are going to walk up and they're going to check to a sneak, and they were a sneak team, which was one of the things I was worried about. Because it wasn't even really 4th and 1. It was like 4th and inches, right? So in my head, I was like, all right, this could be a sneak situation, or they're going to run roll pass, which they ran earlier in the game. So are they going to come back to? And that's all the stuff within 10 seconds going through your head. Then Matt and I talked about taking a timeout so we could see the formation, so I could kind of get a picture of what they were going to do. We call that Kodak, right? Take a picture, see what they're in. Then we had 12 guys on the field, so we had to call a timeout anyway. So this whole thing's going on with no time. What's the call going to be? What are they going to run? The game's on the line. So we made a call for the run, but also thinking send pressure to the side we thought we were going to get the roll pass. Evan just decided to go rogue, and it led to an interception. So he shouldn't do that again, but I'm very glad that he did on that play. So any more questions about that play?
No, that was really good.
All right.
Does that happen though, like more than we would think? Like I coach
Guys.
basketball, I know it's a totally different sport, but in man-to-man, your man might not be your man, you might be with someone else. So do guys adjust on the fly, I guess is the question, like that more than you might think?
Usually when you're in man, if you decide not to cover your man and to cover someone else, bad things happen. Like really, really bad things. Like we had another play in that game where we didn't cover our man and they hit a deep cross, and that was one of the explosive plays of the game. Yeah, usually that does not end very well. So, like in my opinion on that play, we should have been covered, and it would have been interesting to see what happened. It was just one of those things where Key saw that he wasn't, so he took off, and he saw the quarterback, and he made the play. So yeah, I hope stuff like that doesn't happen very often. It's usually not very good.
How hard is that to do from Keyshawn's perspective to come from the opposite perimeter to he got to pee in the end zone on Packers, right? I mean, to cover that much space and make that adjustment as you're doing it.
Yeah, this game's funny. Sometimes you have the perfect call in the perfect situation, and you're right there, and it doesn't work. And sometimes something like that happens, and you make an interception. I mean, he just saw it. The ball was thrown behind, and he made the play. So not easy to do, but good one for the Packers.
A few days ago, Matt was talking about Devontae Wyatt's impact as a run defender.
Yeah.
What did you see from the defensive tackle position this past game against the run?
Yeah, I mean, credit to those guys that we had, right? I mean, Colby and Carl played a lot of snaps, and then Brinson stepped up and played for a rookie more snaps than he's played all year. And then Riley jumped in, who just got here last week. So just getting to know him, he's getting to know the scheme, so we gave him a shot in that game. And, truthfully, I think that's a really good offensive line. I think it's a really good run game. I think the scheme's really good, and they are explosive. I mean, if you watch them against the Eagles prior, it was explosive after explosive, which was our whole thing in that game, was to make sure we had the run stopped and we weren't giving up big ones, especially coming back on the backside. And overall, I thought those guys did a really great job. I think we faced over 30 rushes and didn't give up a run over 9. So a credit to them on that. In the first half, I thought it was outstanding. Pad level, striking, getting off blocks, staying in the gaps, squeezing on the backside, setting an edge on the front side. I thought as the game went on, I thought we wore down just a little bit, and I'm not blaming that on the interior guys. But overall, I thought those guys did a really nice job. I do, especially for some of the limited snaps a lot of those guys have played. And we got to continue to take steps and get better. But I think it was a good starting point against a really good interior group, 2 good backs, and a good scheme.
When you look at the totality of the run defense and about that wearing down, how much do you put on? You had 3 series of 10-plus plays starting late in the first half. Like, was that most of it, or how do you kind of decipher the impact?
There's some for me where I need to put them in better situations, right? So I'll always look at myself first. So there's some stuff that going back, I wish I had done a little bit differently to help them out. Then there's some, the players, we got to do our job and be more consistent and play our technique and line up right. And then that certainly has an impact. I mean, and it's twofold. We have to get off the field. And then I told Matt, he scored in like 40 seconds on the one after we were on like a forever drive. And I'm just looking at the iPad. And I look over to those guys. I'm like, great job. I was like, but gosh, couldn't you take a little bit more time off the clock? You scored too quick. And I'm joking. I hope we score quick all the time. But we were on the field a lot, and we need to do a better job of getting off in those situations. We were on the field too much to line up and play run after run after run like that. So we have to be better there.
Let me know if my thinking on this is wrong, but isn't that a tough spot to be in? Because if you're only giving up 3-4 yards a rush, like I think generally that would be, you're doing what you want to do, but 3-4 yards a rush also gets to a first down. So isn't that kind of a tough position to find yourself in as well? You feel like you're stopping the run, but they're still ahead of the sticks?
Certainly when it keeps leading to like 3rd and 1, and we have to have more negative plays on the early downs, at the same time, you're not going to score a lot of points doing that. And our job is to keep the points off the board. And if our offense is scoring and we get ahead of people, you're not going to be able to catch us, And unfortunately in that game, they weren't able to. One of the disappointing plays was that 2-point conversion because I thought we had them stopped. And if we stopped them there, then it's game over and it's a whole we got to throw the ball type of game. So in situations like that, that's where we need to be better too.
Jeff, I know a couple weeks ago you talked about Rashawn and the impact he does have. And I know you don't just measure based on sacks, but
That's a great sweatshirt.
Yeah, it's the result of the Enter Sandman story, but I annoy these guys enough, so I don't want to tell you.
He's going to Siena. That's unbelievable. I didn't even notice that.
So,
This is great. I really am starting to look forward to these.
Us too.
but how's your mom grading them?
My mom, she would like that shirt too.
How do you get him going in the pass?
Again, and I say this truthfully, Rashawn's playing the run game, and I know you don't want to hear about the run right now. Rashawn's playing the run game way better than he did last year, in my opinion. All right, we're not getting many drop back passes. We're getting 7-man, 6-man play action protections where it's about rushing and converting. And a lot of times you got a tight end and a tackle on you, you got a tackle and a back on you. So at the same time, he's not getting as many opportunities, right? And then even on these 3rd downs, we're getting more runs and screen on 3rd down than I've ever been a part of. So do we want him to have more pressures? Certainly. I'm giving you a reason, and yes, I am defending him because I actually think the guy's playing really well, right? And I think a lot of times you look at I think people look at things very black and white when you have to look deeper into it, right? And just because a guy might not have pressures in a game or sacks in a game, that doesn't mean he didn't play well. Micah Parsons didn't have a sack in the game last week. Micah Parsons had an unbelievable game last week. He had totally affected the game, but he didn't have a sack. So if you're going to be results-based, then you can call it what you want. But if you want to look deep and look at the whole process and how he truly affected every play, he had a really good game. If hopefully we'll get a chance to get in a game where the ball's going up in the air and there's a lot more drop back passes and he'll have more opportunities to rush.
2 more, please. Jeff, what do you need?
I'll get you.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Oh, I
I just had a question about Bohanna. Just first impressions of him, obviously, Matt talked about being a mountain of a man, but
He's a mountain.
what kind of stands out to you about him?
Just knowing him for a week and just watching him, he's a very big person. I mean, and watching some of the double teams in practice, he's really hard to move. You know, he'll get engaged and a guy will try to bump him and he doesn't go anywhere. He's got really good leverage. He's got wide hips. He knows how to use his leverage. Just watching his tape in Seattle, I think he does a good job getting off blocks, and I think he's a really good run defender. It's been a little bit hard this week because we haven't been in pads to really get a true gauge of that physicality that I saw on tape. So we're just trying to do the best we can right now, see where we're at, and make a decision as we go.
Last one.
I'm sort of going to make reference to that about the double team blocks. What, you had TJ Slayton last year who could take those on, but it was kind of a different animal this year, right? Without Kenny and then Devontae. So are you kind of back to a little bit of what you were doing last year? If you bring these guys in.
We've here. Go ahead. Did you have more to add to the question? One, let me say this. I think we're playing the run game pretty well. I mean, I know there's been some runs that have hit us, but I think these guys are playing really good run defense, and I think it's helped us. Early on, did we have to change a little bit? You know, you lose Lucas, you lose Devontae, and then Devontae comes back, and now he's gone again, and you got to keep seeing what you have and put these players in positions to make plays, right? So there's a lot that goes into that. When you have a bigger guy, do you put him in heavier personnel groups where you're going to get more gap scheme and more double teams rather than stretch plays where you don't want a guy to get cut off and you have to run? Does that make sense? So certainly that goes into thinking it. When you have a bigger guy, do you want to play him more head up on a center so he can get his hands on the center and be in better position so he's not chasing rather than playing maybe in a shade or a G, meaning shaded off more to the guard? So yeah, I think when you have a player, you have to figure out how to best put him in position, again, rather than just say, hey, this is our playbook. So yeah, your point is accurate. We've had to see who we have available, who's healthy, right? And figure out the best way to set our fronts to win the game, but allow them to succeed in the game. So we'll continue to do that in whatever we need to do to win the game. And it looks like we're going to have to continue to evaluate,
Jeff,
Yeah.
did your daughter see the bracelet she made you on TV this week?
Yeah, she did. So I don't wear it now, but my one daughter, after one game, she made me this big bracelet with like green and yellow and beads and a heart on it and a Packers logo. So she wants me to wear it to the games, which is what he's referring to, my daughter Leah. So I always wear it during the game. So the first time I wore it was under my sleeve, so she couldn't see it. So in the last game, I had it like above my sleeve, and she does. She's only 7, so she'll pause the TV, and she'll want to know if I'm wearing it or not. And I always wear it up there. I know you saw it and commented on it, so I really do appreciate you seeing it, bringing that up, because I know she'll appreciate it. But she did see me when I kind of let out my fist pump. She was all fired up because sure, it was right there, right there. But that's the cool part, You got little kids at home and who appreciate little things like that, and that's cool for me to be able to do as a dad. So thanks for asking me that question. And thanks for noticing.
It's called product placement, right?
Maybe if she wants to start selling them,
Yeah.
So you guys we're helping each other now. You guys good?
You can get that Red Bull advertising deal if you put them just right. For those
Yeah, I
scams.
might-
They show you 20 times a game, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you want your 7-year-old drinking Red Bull.
Well, I didn't mean that.
My 7-year-old does not. She wants apple juice and water. That's all she gets. I can't be drinking Red Bull either. It's not good for me. You guys good? All right, thanks, guys.
As the former O-line coach around here who knows a bit about that position, what's the challenge that your guys face this week against the Broncos?
I think across the board, they're really good. They do a really nice job bringing pressure, but they can win their one-on-one blocks as well. They bring a lot of 5-man pressures. They'll put 5 bigs in the game and rush those guys and do all their games and stunts off that. But they're really productive up front, just winning their one-on-one blocks.
Emmanuel had 72 hours as a Denver Bronco once 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Exactly 72
Yeah.
hours. And he's kind of, open about how when coming from where he came from, college ball, it took him some time to learn at this level. I'm curious, what is your impressions on when you first got him in 3 years ago to what he's become now?
Yeah, I think that speaks for it right there. You saw a guy with a lot of raw potential, and every year he's just gotten a little bit better and a little bit better, and that's a credit to him and his work ethic. Obviously, Coach Sermons and the work that he does with him as well is so valuable. But yeah, just a guy that had to really grind to learn how to play in the NFL, but you could see the skills he had. I remember one of his first preseason games, he busted like a 75-yard run. And you're like, that just jumped off the tape right there. You're like, holy cow, this guy can make some plays. So, yeah, it's been pretty cool to just see him every year just get a little bit better.
Is there an area that he's kind of grown most as a running back that you see?
I think for him, it's just, doing all the stuff in the pass game, the blocking, the routes, all that was something that he wasn't super accustomed to coming in. And then just his run style. I think he is a tough runner. He runs hard, and just kind of how hard he is to tackle. He does a really nice job.
I know Jacobs hasn't had the 100-yard game, but he's had a lot of games where he's 80, 90 yards. His yards per carry is like 4. Has he had a better year than maybe some people would think if they?
I think so. And, you look at the 100-yard number, and, that's what a lot of people talk about. But, there's a lot of games where you look at, his combined total yardage, the stuff he adds in the passing game has been great. And I think he's just been very consistent as the year's gone on. And again, you look at just the situational football with him, when you get into the red zone or short yardage, things like that, where he comes through and just makes plays. He punches it in the end zone. He's got a bunch of touchdowns. So, yeah, he's obviously had a great year from that standpoint.
Adam, what makes him effective, specifically inside the 5? I think he leads the NFL now. I think it's 8 touchdowns on the year. In that area, obviously, it's not just a side.
Oh, it's grimy. It can get real grimy. Obviously, you got a lot of hats in the box. And that's one thing, he just has a knack for finding a crease and just hitting it and doesn't hesitate. And, it's fighting through contact. That's one thing that I think he's really elite at, for sure.
Spoon asked Josh last Thursday, have you considered not practicing? And he basically said, no, I'm not missing practice. How'd you manage to get him to sit out 2 practices this week?
Well, that wasn't my call, but that's, a
Probably
decision.
wasn't his either.
Yeah, a decision with the trainers and all that stuff. I think he was having some issues, but I'm hopeful, as the week progresses, we'll kind of see how it goes to get him out there and get some reps and do all that stuff. But, yeah, it's just one of those things that he's kind of been fighting through some stuff, and hopefully we can get him over the hump soon.
So to Rob's point, does that make, I still, LaFleur said it too, I don't know how he escaped on the 21-yard run.
Yeah.
But does that make what he's done even more impressive, that he's been dealing with this
Yeah,
all over a month?
it definitely does. I think, it's just his toughness and his willingness to be out there and fight for his teammates and just do whatever it takes. And he wants the ball in those crunch time situations, and he comes through. So it's pretty impressive for sure.
The Denver defense ranks really good against the run as well. Just what do
Yeah.
you see from their front 5 in that regard as well?
Oh, it's not just their front 5. Their linebackers, I think, are elite. Singleton and Greenlaw, those guys are really good. They run to the ball. They're physical. Obviously, their front's good. And their safeties. Their safeties are really productive, really active in the box with Hufanga and Banks. Those guys, they're really instinctual and really physical players. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be a good test for us. Obviously, playing in that environment, too, that's just something we got to handle.
With speaking of injury guys from before, what's allowed Zach Tom to play so well? I mean, we all know what he's battling through early in the year.
Mm-hmm. I think, he's always been a really consistent player. And as guys like him who just are really intelligent and really just aware of their just technique and all that stuff, as they get older, they just keep getting better. And they just keep, really honing in on their technique and craft and all that stuff. So, this is exactly what I expect from Zach. He's having a great year. battling through some stuff, but like out there, just being a reliable player on the right side for us.
What stands out about Zach Allen?
I mean, same deal, like his ability to get off the ball, he's got great moves in the pass rush game, but he is physical and productive. He gets in the backfield in the run game too. He's a slippery player, plays fast. He's not necessarily the biggest guy, but he can still win and create push, which is pretty impressive.
Your three along the interior offensive line have a couple games together under their belt at this point. How have you seen kind of them gel and grow as a unit?
Yeah, no, it's been good. I think Sean's doing a nice job handling that role at center. You know, every week he seems to just be more and more confident. I think his play has been really good, and just keeps improving. Obviously, this is going to be a big test this week, handling this defense in this environment, just making sure we're all on the same page. Belton's been great. A lot of things he needs to work on, but love his play style, love his attitude. He's doing a great job. And again, the more reps he gets, the better and better he's going to get. So I'm encouraged by what's happening right now with our center and guard situations. It's been good.
Hey, Steno, I know if you had Doc Brown's time machine, you'd like to go back to the Carolina game and not have Tucker get hurt. But do you feel like your three guys, and Darian probably too should be included in that, you feel like you've kind of found each of their niches, and what do you think of what you've gotten from them the last few?
I think so. I think that, we're just kind of doing it by committee. And, it's one of those things that you have to make the best of the situation. And these guys have handled it. They've stepped up. But, yeah, they've all been productive catching balls down the field. And I think they all have that ability. They're all big, rangy guys that can move. So it's been fun to just kind of watch those guys go out there and compete.
Do you expect much man coverage from the Broncos?
Yes.
You've had, the last 2 weeks, you've kind of gotten some situations with man coverage that you've won. Do you ever expect teams to just, after you've done that, after Christian's beaten them?
Oh, yeah. We see that all the time where we go into games and we just see a lot of shell or whatever just because of, the threats we have with our wide receivers and other positions. So they are who they are, and I think that's what makes them good. So they are going to challenge you. They're going to get hands-on. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to pressure you. That's why they're a good team, because they have really talented players that can do that. So I see them being who they are, and if they have their change-ups, we'll have to adjust just like we always do. But that's, kind of what we're expecting.
Steno, Golden had that big game against Cincinnati, I think.
Yeah.
And then obviously the last 5 games between injuries and not playing much. If you can get him back healthy, what could that do in addition to all the other stuff you got going for him?
That's one of those things where, we say that in the coach's office, the same thing. It's like, every week you're always dealing with someone goes down, this guy has to step up, and, we get him back feeling 100% and rolling. I think that's going to be really cool, and just kind of trending to where we're going. I think that'll really help us as the season progresses in this last month and then beyond, hopefully.
Beyond the X's and O's, Jaden kind of said yesterday that you guys wanted to get the ball to him, kind of get him going right away on the first play. Why is that important? Because it sounded like it mattered to him that you guys did that.
Yeah. I think just for a guy, you have so much respect for, and that's, been out, and he's just such a great leader for us and just such a good playmaker for us. Just to be able to go out there and just get him involved as fast as possible, that's always huge. Just to get his confidence back, to have a big game.
Sorry, since I missed last week.
You'll double down. There you go.
When you look at what Jordan's put together, I know he was pissed about the pick he threw, but like overall, the kind of the last stretch of games, what's been different about him, or is it just him being him?
For me, I would say it's just him being him, just because I see it every day, just how he is. I think the one silver lining with that interception is you saw how he responded, and it was really good. So that's one of those things that he has a really good knack of just being able to shake things off, whatever the situation is, and just be level-headed and go out there and perform, and I think that's what makes him great. So, I'm super pleased with how he's playing. He's just getting better as the season's going, and that's what we're gonna need.
With Jaden and Christian together, and I get that Jaden's going to make big plays and Christian can do the intermediate stuff, but do you kind of envision it as, with the way they complement, having a presence at all levels in the passing
Oh,
game?
yeah,
Is that
I
really
definitely
important?
think, you know, you throw Romeo in there, you throw Wicks in there, we got guys who can make plays all over the field, so, yeah. I mean, yeah, Christian, I don't know what he's averaging on his catches, it's gotta be over 20 yards a catch, though, it's pretty impressive. But yeah, all those guys, they're very talented in a lot of different ways, for sure.
You guys good?
Good, all right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.